Alright, here we go. This is the first, I believe, video that I'm filming with the new camera. I say new camera. What I mean to say is new phone. So, new camera phone? New phone camera? I always wondered why there was, the camera was such a big deal on phones. I don't know. You don't see people selling cameras and then having as their tagline, but you get great reception. You can make great calls. I don't get it. But either way, this is the age we live in, so new camera phone, and the pictures I've taken so far seem to come out great, so I don't expect anything less with video footage. Especially if I would change the settings and go into higher resolution, or whatever you call it. That would also help. I'm yet to do that, so I guess bad on me. So the miniatures, minis infatuation slash phase, fad, whatever you want to call it, continues. Ran through some Napoleonic stuff, which you're all well good and aware of. This here is the Samurai Battles game that came out a few years ago. And this was a joint effort by some gentlemen, one of which being Richard Borg, the Borg, and another gentleman who I'm not familiar with, Konstantin Krivenko. This was put out by Zvezda, and the cool thing about this is, A, it comes with minis that are affordable. I've always lusted after those giant armies that I see people playing with, something that I never thought I could afford. This is affordable, thus I have a plethora, roughly 250 samurai soldiers to work with. The Richard Borg part of this game consists of the flat out, and I don't know how he was able to do this, but commands and colors. It's flat out commands and colors. That's what you're looking at. And it's interesting because I thought maybe GMT owned the rights, or some of the rights, or maybe would have had a gripe about allowing a different company to produce a game line that has really become their bread and butter. But nevertheless, that's what happened. I should also add, that said, GMT does, turn the air off, GMT does have a Samurai Commands and Colors game coming out. Now how different it'll be from this, I can only hazard a guess. Obviously it's not going to have the Russian gentleman's counterpart, which plays very, very differently. It's a lot more involved, detailed. It's more of a simulation than a game. I don't know what that is. What are you? A little bug thing. So, not going to have that. Again, I don't know how different it's going to be from that which already exists. And yet again, I don't know how this works with a company that GMT is going to come out now with something that already exists from another company, whatever. But I already have it. I'm not going to be buying that. I can't imagine it's that much different from what I already own. And so back to the game in hand, the miniatures that come with it, there are some assembly required, which I just abhor. I hate it. I just, my God, I would probably do more miniature stuff were it not for the assembly and painting. What you see here is about the extent of what I have in me when it comes to this stuff. And I have two sets of this. The one set I had bought back in the day that was in storage. I didn't have access to it. I found a good sale on another set. I thought, you know, it's a good game. It'd be nice to have it. Plus, if I had two of them, that's all the more. So this is what you see here. So this is a combination of two sets, and kind of trying to decide if I was actually going to use the commands and colors rules for this, or the Russian counterpart, which is referred to as Art of Tactic, or something else. And I went online and I tried to find any good, this is more large scale than skirmish. There are a couple of good skirmish rule sets out of there. One by Osprey Publishing called Ronin. One or two others. I think Killer Katanas has gotten some good reviews. Then again, I think that is not skirmish, but that is also not easily accessible for me, at least. I'm trying to come up with something that I don't have to purchase. So I couldn't really find anything. And so what I've done is kind of gone the commands and colors route for the most part, say maybe 75-80%. And then the rest of it is kind of custom add-on, ad hoc stuff that I just can't help but doing. So if I bring you down here, it'll be easier for me to explain what's going on with the Shogun 2 Total War soundtrack in the background. And some of these video game soundtracks, I don't play the games, but some of the videos soundtracks for these things are amazing, especially Napoleon Total War. That soundtrack, oh my god, it's amazing for a game. It's hard to believe. So with this stuff, we'll start from the bottom and work our way up. The boards that you see here are from Epic Napoleonics. They're two heavy cardstock fold-out boards that I've laid out. The scenario is one that I've come up with on my own. There isn't a scenario included in either of these games big enough to represent what I have here. Again, what you're looking at is a full set on one side and a full box set on the other side. And then the most obvious thing that you might notice right off the bat is what I have set up along the ends here. I've got a kind of leadership command mechanic going on with numbers representing a leader's ability to activate. If a leader does activate, then everything in that section activates. It's a little similar to the playing the cards commands and colors style. However, you're going to decide which leader you want to activate, and then you need to roll equal to or less than his activation number. If you fail, initiative switches to the other side, etc. That's how I've decided I think I want it to work. Beyond that, there's still a few other kinks to work out. Trying to keep this somewhat simple. There are a lot of ways I could approach this, but then you get bogged down, and next thing you know, you've been fiddling with it for weeks, and you burn out, and you don't end up playing it. At least that's been my experience. So what else? I think I'm leaning towards the Art of Tactic rules for combat, which I like a little bit better than the commands and colors rules. They're somewhat similar. It's both buckets of dice, but within my head it clicks better with the Art of Tactic. Based on a unit, you roll a certain number of dice. You need a certain number or less to get a hit. That's straightforward to me. The commands and colors aspect of combat is a little more abstract. You roll dice, you need a certain number to represent hitting infantry or hitting cavalry or hitting etc. And you can also roll flags, which could cause a defending unit to surrender. And then there's an aspect particular to this game and period, the battles that took place in the Sengoku Jidai, and that is the and I forget the term now, the symbols that you can earn, which honor tokens, thank you, Kat. The honor tokens that you can earn based on dice rolls, which will allow you to do certain things. One being play dragon cards, which are a supplementary tactical card deck that accents the base functional command card deck. Again, that's probably not something I will be using. Also, I want to work in some sort of, and that's where it brings me to GMT's Samurai or Ran. There are rules in both of those games that allow you to have man-to-man combat. So challenges. Problem with that is I do need to have, and I have yet to have that adequately represented yet. Leaders on the board. The way I have it now, the leaders are, again, to use an overly worn out word, the leaders thus far abstracted into the game. So we have leaders, but they're really literally and physically off board. It's understood that their influence is represented in each section. Now, to have an actual physical leader on the board somewhere would then allow you to have a command radius and then do those awesome one-on-one battles. But again, if I do go that route, I want to keep it as simple as possible, or once again, you're bogging yourself down in this, that, and the other. Why not just play the game the way it's meant to be played? You know, that's a fantastic question. It's the $1 million question when it comes to me. I'm just incapable. I give up. I just can't do it. So that's where we're at. I haven't decided the victory conditions yet. There are a number of options there. And have not decided the number of turns. I like and I've noticed this lately in a couple of games, I like the idea of having a set amount of turns, but depending on how soon you achieve your victory conditions, adds victory points in and of themselves to that victory condition. So if you achieve your victory conditions, say by turn 4 instead of turn 5, you're going to get more points, or something to that effect. You catch my drift. So I like that idea. But we've got options, and when I finish with this here, I imagine that will complete my it'll probably satiate my want for miniatures play. Once we finish this, should be back to the old cardboard hex encounter stuff, because I don't know what else is left miniatures wise for me to do. I've done the Napoleonic stuff. I don't really have anything else. I guess the Flames of War stuff, but there's not, you know, maybe I'm still burnt out on it, because again, I played that stuff so much back in the day. Maybe I'm afraid to get back into it. It's the same as the computer game thing. Afraid to get into it because I'm afraid I'll get lost down a deep dark hole and never be able to be found again. Trust me, there are some very tempting games on that I watch on YouTube, computer games that people play, and I think, you know, all I gotta do is pull the trigger and try it. In fact, I take that back. I have tried a couple of things. I did try Conflict of Heroes on PC. I think I played 5 minutes and said that something ain't right here, something's missing. But well, it's a PC game, not a board game. I mean, and I knew that, but I didn't know it would be that much of a difference. But there really is, and I'm not going to go into the particulars or specific examples. But when you compare and contrast computer PC games to non-electric games, there is a huge difference. And I thought maybe I could bridge that gap, but either I'm incapable or it was just the wrong game, and I suppose that's a possibility as well. So that's what we got on the table right now. Don't know that I will be coming back with an update. May just play this out and be done with it. Or I could come back with a mid-game update or an in-game update, let you know what I had officially decided on rules-wise, and let you know the outcome. As far as the force to force ratio, it's equal. I thought of making it asymmetrical, with one force being of a lesser quantity and the other, that force in turn being of a higher quality, so better command ratings compared to more troops with a lower command rating. But I've left it symmetrical, and the die rolls for the leadership are all random. And I want to say, let's see, out of 6, 8, 23, 4, roughly even. Maybe one side has a slight advantage in command, but we'll see how that plays out. And I also have one last thing. I have the ninjas that are included in these Samurai Battles game. Now these guys are pretty sweet looking. And what I wanted to do with these, again, more rules added on, right? what I hoped to do with these is kind of along the lines of the Shogun or Samurai swords or Yakuza flavor, allow somehow for leaders to be quote unquote assassinated, if you will. Now, how does that work? Your higher quality leaders would be targeted, obviously, and replaced with a leader of lower quality. So I may try to work that in as well. But that's about it, and this should be a hell of a game. That's like I said, it's about 250 soldiers clashing together, so I'm ready to get this thing on the road. Also, before I let you guys go, I'm starting to do this at the end of the videos instead of the beginning. If the Blues win tonight, let me pull you back up here. This is a big deal. You ready for this? If the St. Louis Blues win tonight, and the Stanley Cup is in St. Louis in anticipation of a possible win. If the Blues win tonight, we win our first Stanley Cup. Team, again, founded in 1967, never got a cup. If we win tonight, that changes. And I will heretofore refer to before winning the cup as BC, and after winning the cup as AC. Before cup, after cup. That is how time will function in my mind from here on out. Big deal. Game starts at 7, and I've already had one pre-celebratory beer, and I know I don't put the cart before the horse, but I'm telling you, I feel confident the Blues aren't going to let this one slip away. You don't want a Game 7 back in Boston, which is what happens if we lose tonight. Not going to happen. Blues are going to throw everything in their power at Boston. Not that Boston won't respond in kind, but you don't understand. This Blues team, they got to play another 60 minutes, and they win their first Stanley Cup. Nothing's going to get in their way. All right, guys, I'll talk to you next time. Stay safe and keep gaming.